Hello, feminists. Welcome to the second Road to the Forum session in our series, Forum Politics, Intersectionality in Practice. We're really excited to have everyone with us today. How many people are there? Holy smokes, there's a few hundred of you. A little taste of the forum. My name is Jessica, and I'm on the membership team here at AWID, and I'm joining you today from Bulgaria, where it's nice and sunny. A little physical description of myself. I am a white woman. My hair is tied back. There's a bit of blue in it. I am wearing a striped shirt with a colorful coral necklace. We are so excited to be here in the space on the Road to the Forum together with all you feminists who are going to be attending the forum either in person in Bangkok, virtually in your homes, or in one of the many hubs, such as in Mexico City, Chiang Mai, Kisumu, and so on. Today's session is number 2 of our series. We have 4 altogether. And jointly, these sessions are meant to give you useful information to prepare everyone on what is expected logistically and politically at the forum. These are just entry points into further discussions and deeper learning. So in this session, we are focusing on AWID's Code of Conduct and what do we really mean about intersectionality at the forum. We're also going to make this as fun and interactive as possible. This is a webinar after all. And we're going to unpack some different case scenarios of things that actually do happen when we're in these large convenings. So as always, we wanted to remind our audience, which is all of you, that sometimes feminism is not perfect and it's a learning journey that we're all on. Not all of the ideas, perhaps in the chat or when we're talking, are going to be shared, and that's okay. So if you have any, questions or comments, sick kid at home, please share that in the chat. If you need to step away, do that at any time. So as always, we want to start with a very quick Menti to get us started, see who's in the room. Michelle, if you want to drop that, that would be really fun. I'm going to share my screen in a second while people are doing that and getting ready. But anyway, I also wanted to say, while people are just doing the Menti, that holy smokes, we're really quite amazed that the forum in-person registration filled up so quickly. And we had to stop the registration earlier than expected. I don't even think we really got past the early bird because we far exceeded our capacity. While this is amazing, we also know that there are many people who are really still keen to attend and must be disappointing. Perhaps you're getting questions from your friends, comrades, and colleagues as well. Please let them know that we're working on a beautiful, meaningful, and interactive virtual experience for the forum, including the hybrid, and it's still possible to register for online participation. So just wanted to share that because we are getting a lot of questions, and I'm sure you are too. So let's go to the Menti and see. And I'm gonna see if Gopika and Ina are around to come chat and banter with me. Well, we see where people are joining from.
I saw when our run-up show says you're going to banter with me on this. So I had to come off my camera. Hi, everybody. This is Gopika. I'm joining from India. I have brown skin, short hair, a little bit of makeup because it's evening and I'm going for a party, and a pink top with a headset on.
Right. Ina.
As well, I'm Ina Michaeli, pronouns she, her. For a description of myself, I'm a white, sort of Eastern European looking woman with a short hair, thin purple glasses, dark red lipstick, and behind me is a poster that reads Freedom for Palestine.
Amazing. Wow, look at how how global this meeting is. It's really incredible. For those of you in the Pacific, thank you for staying up probably past like midnight. For those of you on the other side, it looks like there's some folks chiming in from Mexico. Thank you for waking up at probably 6 a.m. Everyone in between, feel lucky that
Yeah, today there's not a lot of, I see very few people from my country. Usually there are quite a lot of folks from India. So hello to everyone joining from India. Looking forward to seeing you at the forum. Yeah.
Yeah, and for anyone who just joined, please use the chat to start chatting with each other, tell people your organizations and who are you from all these amazing places. Let's go to the next question. Oh, this is a word cloud. So this one is, what movements do you represent? Let's see. Okay, this is going to be changing laws. Okay, lots of feminists. That's good. Check. Who else do we have here? We have, oh, there's quite a few disability rights activists. Oh, this is my child who's also a bit sick today and is joining the session. Gender justice. Who else do you see? Ina and Gopika. Any movements you represent?
Shout out for the digital and tech, who are going to be joining us quite a bit at the forum, and economic justice always. Menstrual equity, migrant and indigenous rights,
I
harm
saw
reduction.
I saw diplomacy and I was thinking I need to learn from this person.
And I think it's lovely how we are seeing quite a lot of movement that you see a lot in feminist spaces, but also a lot of movements that are not so often centered in feminist spaces.
Yeah, exactly. This is really beautiful. And this just gives us a little bit of a taste of what's to be expected at the forum. And, you know, maybe going into our session, sometimes we don't always know all of these movements as well as perhaps we think. So I'm going to now close this and pass it off to you, Gopika and Ina, to talk about how to navigate foreign politics and intersectionality. Take it away.
How easy is that, Ina? Very, very simple.
So shall we tell folks what the plan is?
Yes, let's try.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
you
go
go.
for it, Ina.
Okay, so we will start with um, just shortly sharing why this conversation was so important to us and why we thought it's a good idea for all of us to come together for that. And then, yeah, we'll have some interactive scenario conversations. Gopika, you want to say something to that?
Yeah, we tried to, as best as we could, think about scenarios that we may all come across when we meet in person. It's going to be a very big forum. There are going to be thousands of people from all around the world, and we thought it would be really great to be able to reflect together, not necessarily always just to come up with the right answers, because as we know, we're all feminists and there's no one right answer. But yeah, we wanted to provide a space for us to do this together. And it reminds me that, Ina, the last time both of us were together on a webinar was when we were explaining how to register for the AVID Forum almost a year ago. So I'm having some chills right now. So yeah, over to you as well to share a little bit more.
Okay, and it's lovely to see sort of familiar names and unfamiliar names and old friends and new friends, and really, really excited to be connecting with you all at the forum. So, why are we here? Why do we even need to have a conversation about how we come together? Shouldn't it be really simple? We just get on the plane or however, and we meet and we have those amazing 4 days together. And we could do that, but we are coming together in our very different identities and from different regions and languages and movements and cultures, and also different movement cultures. And we want to do so with intentionality and with care and with awareness. And that's already something a little bit different. So maybe one way to think about it is that as feminists, we often develop sort of common language across borders, even when we don't speak each other's languages. And that's something that we want to try and develop here. Another way to think about it is that we often hear criticisms. I'm sure a lot of us heard it from so many directions, first of all, from ourselves, from our comrades, but also from funders or other civil society groups about how feminist and women's rights organizations and movements are fragmented and we need to be more united so we can be more powerful, because when we are together, we can be more effective. And you know that it makes all the sense. But also, what does it take, or what do we need to really be able to come together in those ways? Because I think it's very clear we are not going back in history to, this, let's focus on workers' rights and we will deal with women's issues later. And this brings us to the concept of intersectionality that comes from the work of Kimberly Crenshaw and Black feminists and has been used and overused and misused and underused in so many of our spaces. But let me tell you what we take from it here. We take from it the need to understand each other's contexts, current and historical, in each other's identities, in order to be able to see each other in context. So when we want to learn and educate ourselves and understand more about where we are all coming from, it's not in place of seeing each other, but it's in order to be able to see each other better, to understand, okay, I'm meeting you, but I'm also meeting your context, I'm meeting your history, I'm meeting your identities. And I need to know that not instead of seeing you better, but in order to be able to see you. And the same for myself. And so we really believe that it's, or let me also just speak for myself. I believe that what we take from intersectionality is the very complexity of power relations in society, in which every encounter between the two of us as friends or as strangers or as colleagues is always taking place. And this can be very different power relations, of course, whether it's organizational hierarchies and titles that we happen to have, or organizations we are affiliated with. Are you from a global organization? Are you from a local organization? Am I actually your funder? But also, of course, in terms of race, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, and so on. So, so we are coming together, and we want to do it in a way that is mindful. And we also, as a political project, want to do it in a way that understands that we can only be more united and we can work and organize better together only when we work through these power relations and these inequalities. And I think many of us, especially if you possess some kind of minority identity, have had this experience of being the party pooper, or the feminist without humor, or when we bring up the way that inequalities or oppression or discriminatory dynamics come within our own spaces. And then you are, you are accused of sort of, ruining the party or breaking the unity. And I think if there is something that we have learned over those decades, of intersectionality as idea and as practices, is that we can only really come together when we work through that. We can't ignore those inequalities. We can't just say, oh, let's deal with that later. But it's really learning to be together in a new way, that we can come together in order to drive political action for a different kind of world. So we want to be sort of equipped with these politics, but also with our heart and with our humor, And I think that's also why we're creating a space where we can learn and think and talk, but also dance and laugh and eat and hang out and rest and heal together. So yeah, that's the rationale of our conversation. Gopika, have I missed something important?
No, very light conversation for a Wednesday evening for me. But no, I think you sort of encompassed what we're going for. And I think when we started thinking about it, this is a 4-day global convening, which is going to come and go in your lives very quickly, and ours too. So we don't expect, that things change overnight. But I think the intentionality of what we're talking about, at least you and I, when we spoke about having this conversation, was how do we see things from where we sit? And coming from a place of love, humor, but there's also a way in which there's power present in these spaces in multiple ways. And so this conversation is about unpacking that. And and when we spoke about it, it was like sometimes it can be very up in the air. And so the scenarios that we've sort of thought about are real scenarios. And I think we had a lot of back and forth about what the answers might be as well. We spent many days thinking what might happen and then also disagreeing on what we considered the right answer was. So yeah, I think that's also sort of interesting in terms of a process of bringing that to a wider forum audience. So yeah, I thought I'd
I
mention
think
it as
also
well.
one word that didn't come up, but it comes up for me now as I'm listening is vulnerability. Is also
Yeah,
that it takes vulnerability and it takes a lot of appreciation also, or it justifies appreciation when a person is able to say, or a group is able to say, this is what is missing for us in the space to
yeah,
make it ours,
yeah.
so that we feel like it's ours and not as guests. So it's also with this in mind that we want to open this conversation. And just because we're speaking about intersectionality and we have questions in the chat about visas, and of course,
Yes.
if there is a space where inequality is so powerful, is everything that comes with freedom of movement or lack thereof. So just echoing the point, we know there are a lot of logistics questions, so please feel free. We will have a proper session about logistical accessibility issues coming up, but if you have burning questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and our logistics team will try to help you out. Also, if you are waiting for answers from our logistics team, thank you very much for your patience. We're doing our best to respond as soon as we can. There are a lot of queries because there are a lot of border regimes and challenges around visas, and we are committed to support each and every one. So yeah, just to say we're also very mindful of the visa issues, and that's in the works in different ways. And also, you do have the Q&A option here as we go.
Thanks, Ina. So I think without further delay, that sounds like a very Indian lecturer thing, sorry. All of us, we thought we'd get into the case scenarios. And again, just to say that all of us are obviously coming from different countries. We've seen in the chat different movements, but also different life experiences, which could be the same as well, despite the fact that you're from a different country. And we navigate the world in distinct ways. I think we recognize that. So I guess before we start with the case scenarios, the question that we come to is how can we genuinely respect each other in all our identities without making assumptions or putting people in boxes? And this is for us as well, like Ina said. At least for me, I think I was like thinking today about the imperfect feminisms that I live and that I'm constantly uh, being challenged, feeling uncomfortable in many ways, putting out my discomfort in not sometimes not always the best way, but then like recognizing that there's so much more to learn and unlearn, and really come from a place of radical empathy. So yeah, so we're gonna go into some situations. Of course, like Jess said, code of conducts are very straightforward, but life is messy. So I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask for our first question to be put up. So this is going to come as a poll. So I will read a scenario and you will be able to vote on that scenario. So if we can also have the slide up, which shows the scenario in English, so that we can have a look at that. Okay, there we go. Okay, something many of us would have experienced. You enter the AVID forum space after a long journey from your home country, after navigating visa and immigration. You register and receive your conference name badge. The person at the registration desk pronounces your name wrong. What do you do? This is, I'm sure, happened to many of us. Um, this forum, it's not going to happen to me in the sense that I'm not going to be coming from a long way. Okay. People have seen the poll and then it disappeared. I wonder if we can. Oh, lots of people saying the poll disappeared.
I think we can go maybe to the next slide and then.
No, I see it
And
now.
here it is.
I hope it's back and people can see it. So you'll be seeing the poll pop up.
And I'm also putting the translated answers into the chat box, just so everyone knows.
Perfect. I'm going to ask that we go to the next slide so I can also read the answers out so that they will, so that that can also be interpreted. So the first option is, oh, maybe not. Oh, I hear some Spanish interpretation in my channel. No problem. So the first option is you smile and leave. You're tired, and this usually happens at global conferences. You correct the person. The third option is make a joke about how this always happens, and you say it's fine. You turn around and tell the next person you are used to this, so be prepared. And anything else? You want to give us your innovative answers in the chat? Uh, and please feel free to be as honest as you want, or maybe even give us an example of what you've done in the past. So yeah, take a couple of minutes and we will also show you the results of the poll, um, and have a little bit of a reflection on that. I see some, I see some folks saying they'll smile and leave. Great. Love that. Giving each other a bit of grace. We have that in the chat as well.
And also someone noting from an organizer point of view, if one is unsure of the pronunciation, you can actually just ask the attendee how to spell or pronounce it correctly.
Absolutely.
It's that simple.
Yes, someone actually says here that they usually only provide the correct pronunciation if the person asks. Oh, I love this one, Ina. Show kindness and share a short story about your name if there is time. I love that. Um, so in my case, whenever I go to a global space, my name is hard to pronounce. So I also give people a way to say it. So I will say, go pick up something, and then I'll ask them to take the P out so that it's go picka. So I always like to come up with innovative ways to make it easier. Um, right. Um, I like this. I'm sure I mispronounce other names as well. Can we have the results of the poll up? I'm not sure if I can see them yet. Oh, nice. Okay. I can see this as I hope others can see it too. I'm assuming all our participants can. Um, a majority, we have a large number of people who would smile and leave. I think that's the realistic thing that most of us do. Some folks correct, and some folks, I think we have 38% of people who will smile and leave, and 39% who would correct the person. So obviously the percentages don't really matter. Um, but I think this was also just an opportunity for us to recognize and visibilize that when we enter spaces that we are very new to, possibly completely tired and overwhelmed, yeah, this does happen and it can affect our experience for the rest of the forum. So yeah, I appreciate that everyone sort of has different approaches in terms of giving grace, but I'm sure after a long journey, are you really in the mood to give someone grace? But yeah, hopefully our folks at registration are going to be feeling a little good about the people who are giving them grace on
Yeah,
this
and
webinar.
shout out to Yara in the chat asking for mercy on the very overwhelmed team. Just, dealing with 3,000 plus people and names to pronounce correctly. That's thank you. I'm sure they'll appreciate it very much as well.
Yeah, for sure. And just one of the things I think that I wanted to say before we move on is obviously names are important to many of us. And I think, I've definitely been in a situation where I've said my name to somebody, they've said it wrong, I've had to correct them, they've said it wrong again. And yeah, I think that's also, I think part of also being able to be in a space where you can sort of say, hey, my name is really important to me that it's pronounced correctly. And maybe that's just me. So, because I've spent quite a lot of time correcting people, so I also maybe just be okay with it. So I thought I'd share that little experience as well. And just for us to be conscious about that for some people, it's more important, and for others, it may not be. So, yeah.
And we're moving on to situation number 2. And next slide, please. So you're hanging out with a group of people from different countries, because that's something that happens at the AVID forum. And you made a new forum friend, Suki, who joins the conversation. But the people in the group keep misgendering Suki and referring to Suki as a he, but you know that Suki actually uses she, her pronouns. So what do you do? Option number 1, interrupt next time that they use the wrong pronouns and you correct them. Number 2, you wait for Suki to correct them herself. Number 3, when Suki leaves, you correct your friends. Number 4, you check with Suki if she'd like you to correct them. Or number 5, surprise us in the chat how you would like to handle this situation, whether you are the person or you are the friend being misgendered.
I'm really sad that we don't have votes either, Reena. We just have to.
Yeah, I don't know if people know, but we technically are not allowed to vote.
Yes. Just even from the responses, you can see that folks are taking different options, which is like also part of how we all would react.
Gobka, are we allowed to say what we would have voted if we could? Or we
Oh
keep
my
it
God.
neutral?
We'll keep it a secret till the poll results come out. Oh, I like this strategy of continuously referring to Suki as she, her, and hope the others follow. Um, I'm not able to see your name, but yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And also normalizing the use of pronouns and how you introduce yourself. And encouraging others to share theirs.
Love that.
And then maybe somebody will ask, oh, but what is a pronoun? And then you get the chance to explain.
Even better. So many answers. I love it.
And I think
Oh,
we
I
had a
like,
lot of number 4 of checking in with your friend,
yeah.
checking what
That
they would be comfortable with because it is about them.
I like feminists because we come up with the greatest strategies. Can I say someone has actually said, I'd maybe ask what were your pronouns to Suki while still in the group, which also allows me to make sure as well. I love that because that's also such a great way to just sort of reiterate and make the point. I feel like I'm Suki now.
Okay. Okay.
Should we see the
Uh,
results, Ina?
yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Yep.
Wow, 59% of folks are going to check with Suki if she'd like you to correct them.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, also for the ideas and the very sort of gentle and tactful suggestions how you would do that. But I think it's also, we want to remind that it's also there are not necessarily right and wrong answers. Because, the things find us in different moments of being tired, of saying the same thing or being in the same situation. And I think we also want to give us the grace of showing up as we are. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope actually that people who are also maybe not have voted or sort of listening or seeing some of the things in the chat, like we also see this as an opportunity for all of you to share your own strategies with each other because yeah, like we said, it's also this webinar is also a space just to maybe hear things that you haven't heard before because the forum is going to definitely be that space. So yeah.
Over to you for the next scenario.
Okay. Okay. Ooh. Okay. You are speaking as part of your session at the forum. After the session, someone stands up and shares that you are discriminating against people from their movements and that your presentation includes harmful norms and colonizer beliefs. What do you do? Okay, option one is you feel embarrassed, so you apologize. Number two, you tell them that they are wrong and misunderstood you. Option three, while maybe you are unsure where they are coming from, you listen. Uh, Number four, offer to meet them afterwards for a chat. Number five, you can choose anything else. You will see the poll coming up. I think someone has asked if we can show it side by side, the question and the responses. You'll be able to see them coming up on your polls and quizzes in English right now. And you'll also be seeing the other languages popping up in the chat right now. Apologies, this isn't the best way for us to do the polls. We had to use the, technology that we had. So um, it's not a perfect scenario. So take
Uh,
your time and think through it. Yeah, sorry, Ina, go
yeah, no,
ahead.
I think you can see the technology can't really stop feminists because, if you're saying, oh, choose one, and then people are like, oh, I choose two of them, three and four.
Yeah,
Please keep that.
I
Uh,
love that. Yeah. Maybe we should have allowed for more than one option, but then everyone would have chosen everything. So oh, I like someone who's also saying they dislike the word chat and they would ask them for a discussion, that chat diminishes their concerns. It's really interesting also language, right? Because we're all using language in different ways, and this is such an important observation as well in terms of the difference that we use. And English is really, also a tough language. So love that. Oh, someone was able to select multiple options. Great. That's good to know. Since we can't choose any options, I think we didn't know that, Ina. So sorry. Great. Oh, yes, people are correcting me on the multiple choice. Fantastic. Lots of things coming up in the chat. Um, someone also saying they would listen first and ask the organizer if there's time to discuss this in the forum itself. If yes, I would like to listen to them and respond so that everyone can be part of this discussion. If not, we will suggest we go offline and invite other people into the discussion as well.
I have to say, it's really nice to see that also, because I'm thinking, if you are that person who sometimes,
Yeah.
stands up and says that something is wrong and you are used to just people rolling their eyes and not wanting to hear you, it's actually nice to come into a space knowing that people will appreciate if you will share your perspective and would want to actually talk more about it. I think it doesn't happen that much or as much as it should.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, definitely. And we have someone here saying that English isn't their language, their native language. So sometimes the choice of words is also complicated. So for example, mixing pronouns and tenses just because of the language barriers. So I think that giving a bit of grace seems to be resonating as well. So lots of folks, also 3 and 4, sort of like listening and then sort of approaching them afterwards as well for a talk or discussion. Um, and I see some people actually preferring that collective discussion as well. Always a difficult thing to navigate. I think when we are put in those situations, I think it takes a lot of sort of community work to also reach a point where we feel that, okay, this is something we can talk about collectively. So it's really nice to know that there are people coming to the forum who are like that, and I would encourage you to lean into that when you're at the forum. Like, really, let's think about it as a space that we're all collectively creating. So yeah, over to you, Ina, for the next one.
Okay, you go to a session late, and when you are in the room, you notice that everyone is wearing a medical mask. You are not wearing yours. Maybe you forgot it at the hotel or something like that. What do you do? Number one, you leave the room. Number two, you ask for an extra mask. Number three, you don't do anything. Number four, you wonder why everyone's masking. Or number five, please write in the chat. And we should have said that probably you have received information about the code of conduct and the COVID protocol. So, it's part of the protocol at the forum. I appreciate the one and then two first. You leave the room, then you ask for an extra mask. Let's see, we have checking with organizers, being extra sensitive if someone's high risk, and also like first you put the mask, then you ask what's going on. Oh, and that is also true. Before the COVID pandemic and various health situation, it's true that many of us have met masks in the context of tear gas and violent demonstrations. So thank you for that reminder. 1, 2, and 4. Shall we see the results? Okay, that's an overwhelming 91% for asking for an extra mask.
Well, it's good because today we were discussing mask numbers, Ina, as part of the procurement for the forum. So it's good to know that folks will ask for an extra mask.
So we can be prepared for it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it also shows that folks are understanding of our protocol and like the idea around collective care is very important. So yeah, mandatory masking is part of the AWID Forum protocol. And I think part of it is also the importance of us being in a space where we can be mutually caring for each other's in terms of how we're showing up in the space.
Yeah, and just to say also that there's a lot of thinking and learning and love and care and education that goes into the policies around health and safety and care.
Mm. So there are lots of questions and comments actually about the fact that there are 21% of people who are wondering why. So we should clarify, actually.
Yeah, I think that we will make sure to include that information as well. Absolutely.
We
And
news.
there's a question of whether it's common in Thailand. Not at all times, or at least not from our visit there, I think. But it is for the forum, and it's good to know that there's a significant percentage of people wondering. So yeah, we'll make
Yeah.
sure to share the information and the rationale with everybody,
Yes.
so that
And
people
so
know
there is.
why they're asking for the extra mask.
Yes. And the question here is where will the mandatory masking be happening? It's going to be throughout the forum. So just to clarify that masking is mandatory during the forum. And you can read the entire COVID protocol on our forum website. And there's question about if you have medical conditions, etc. There are answers to all those questions on the website. And you would have actually checked that little box when you registered if you have. So we encourage you to also read that and also to read the rationale behind it. A group of folks who advised us and worked with us on accessibility, including our staff, really worked hard to bring that protocol and that idea around collective care to life.
And going to the next question.
Okay, so at the forum, there is a gala dinner. Just letting you all know that I think this is probably the space where we can announce that get those outfits ready. But the gala dinner will take place at the forum where we will see all of you. So you look cute and you're having a great time. You catch the eye of someone and end up dancing together all night. Someone walks up to you and shares that the person is a sex worker, so be careful. What do you do? So the options are option 1, you make an excuse to leave. Option 2, you keep dancing and enjoy yourself. You don't care. Option 3, challenge the person on why would you be quote unquote careful. You think that's very cool and makes you cool is option 4. And 5, anything else you'd like to share in the chat. So your poll should be coming up now. I love this immediate response from someone saying, why is that relevant? Also another option.
I love it. They should mind their own business. I think that's a
Love it.
very good answer to many situations.
Yeah. Love the attitude of meeting different people, keeping on dancing.
Keeping on dancing is also a very good response to most situations in life.
Uh, we have a response in the chat as well about asking that person why they would want to take away my decision making, my agency. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really great to see these responses and really appreciate everyone's engagement with these questions. I love this response. I'm going to read it out so it can be interpreted. I'm going to whisper, is that not a human being? And the person got moves.
You have your priorities straight.
Yes. Um, I love also this reflection around violating the terms of anti-discrimination at the forum, thinking about what that means in different contexts. Um, Love the sarcasm approach that some people are also taking. Shall we see the results of the poll? Thank you. So we have a mixed bag, but of course, a majority of you have said that you'd keep dancing. Um, we have about 3% of people who also are saying they would make an excuse and leave. And I think here it's also sort of recognizing and visibilizing that different people, even within this space, are taking different approaches to the scenario. Um, and yeah, I think
And
also majority of people are also willing to sort of step, like not willing, but I guess taking the decision to challenge the person as well.
and perhaps also for different reasons, right? Because sometimes we do same things for different reasons. So I think also being mindful of that, of not making those assumptions too much. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think, with the point of thinking that's very cool, I think we wanted to also acknowledge how sometimes, yes, we can be excited about meeting people that, first of all, maybe you share my identity or life experience and you're from the other side of the world and this can be amazing. Or maybe you are someone I never thought that I can meet or would meet, and that's amazing as well. But also, I think being mindful of the risk of exoticizing each other and being really, really mindful and careful about that, because I think that's also an experience that a lot of people make in spaces like that. I see we have a
Great.
question about the motive of these questions. Very good question. Is it for preparation of a common or appropriate etiquette in global sessions? Just a small curiosity.
Mm.
Do you
Ina?
want to?
No, start. I'll build from what you say as well.
Um, so I think, as we said, it's not that necessarily there's right and wrong. So in that sense, it's not etiquette in that sense. But I think it's more to acknowledge the complexity of coming into that space. I think it's also just keeping the pulse, and by seeing what people choose can also give us the sense of what to expect in the space, and that can already inform how insecure or how confident I can feel coming to the
100%.
space.
Yeah.
What have and I think it's really easy um to feel alone in huge convenings, I guess, for some of us, especially in big crowds. And it's really, I think our aim and our dream and our political project is to create a community. And to
Yeah.
create a community is also about being seen, is about knowing how to show up, how to feel more comfortable in your own skin or in your own identity. So I think it's less about common or appropriate etiquette, although there is a code of conduct and sort of community agreements, and also we just expect people to be decent and kind to each other, but also trying to go a little bit deeper because we also understand that the kind of experiences that inform exclusion and microaggressions are often not intentional. They're often things that we do without thinking. And by that, we actually create a space where other people feel excluded or are discriminated. So we just want to, and that's also going just back, last thing I will say, going back to the point of intersectionality, that each of us can be in positions of, of oppression, ignorance, because none of us knows about everything and about all the movements and all the struggles. So there's also an element of being humble and learning of how we create a shared space. So I hope that that answers the question, and maybe other people would have other answers to that. That's just me. Oh, is
Yeah.
there a dress code for the gala dinner? I love that question. And Gopik, I feel you are more equipped to answer that than me.
No, please dress as gala-ish as you want is my um is my advice. But more info to come on the gala dinner as we move on. But yeah, I really like that you framed it in that way, Ina. This is not about an appropriate sort of, it's not about appropriateness, because also as feminists, we're not always appropriate or following norms, that mainstream norms. But I guess by us opening up this sort of space, it also tells you as folks coming to the forum, what are the questions we are asking ourselves as AWID and people at AWID. So sometimes I feel when I'm vulnerable about my own, like, you know, things that are, it's sort of like us opening up and saying, okay, that gives you permission to be vulnerable. And I think that's important for us as AWID to also say, that it's important to sort of be comfortable in a space.
Yeah, and I would also say, if there's this outfit that you never know where to wear and you never have an extravagant or outrageous enough of an opportunity, you can probably bring it here.
Absolutely.
Shall we move to the next slide?
Yes, and there is a question in the chat again around masking. Masking is mandatory for forum attendees. We'll make sure we share a link with you again on on that. And yeah, just to be clear, there is a political approach of collective care that's behind that, and we would love for you to engage with that more. And we will discuss it more actually in the next session of the forum learning journey. So yeah, over to you, Ina.
Okay. So is this our last scenario, by the way?
I think it might be.
Okay. Okay. I think there was another scenario that perhaps we missed, which is very important. And I think the main message of that scenario is, whatever you do, do not touch other people's hair without permission. And in general, just also don't ask for permission. Just don't touch other people's hair. So that one doesn't even have options. That's just a basic guideline. It has happened a lot to people, so that's just a no-go. To the person who asked about the etiquette, I think this we can clearly say. Okay, so going to this scenario, bear with me. You live in a country, and especially to many of us, that has experienced war for a long time, and you want to connect and find solidarity with other people who live in conflict regions. You're a queer person of color. So you go to 3 different events on militarism where there is no mention of the intersectional discrimination that queer people of color face, especially in conflict situations. It's all quite white and heteronormative, in other words. So instead of feeling connected to other people in the same situation, you feel frustrated and even more excluded, perhaps. So what do? One, you call out the session organizers and you say, but what about us? Number 2, you take it to social media and you post about your experiences at the forum. Number 3, you talk to some of the activists one-on-one to share your experience in your country about those who are disproportionately impacted by militarism, as yourself. Number 4, you just stop going to those sessions because the erasure is frustrating you. Or, as a number 5, write in the chat. And of course, bear in mind that we use just one example, but there are so many other situations and teams and experiences where folks can feel unseen or their situation unacknowledged, so or identity or reality. So what do?
Hmm. I see someone talking about calling in.
Yeah, but also people being mindful to say that's not my experience. So actually, I don't even want to play pretend with an identity that is not mine. And I think that's actually
Yeah,
that's a strong reflection. Thank you. I think also speaks to, yeah, we were trying to think from which perspective we do those scenarios.
yeah. I think from my perspective, it's about putting myself in a situation. I mean, this is just a sort of like way of thinking about myself going to a session on a topic, about a situation in my country. And that feeling of invisibilization and erasure, I feel all of us would have felt at some point of time. So the case scenario is more of a way to think about that erasure, and how we sort of deal with it in a space which we have come to with the expectations of this being a very safe space for feminist activists to come together. So, yeah, that's just how, in fact, that was what it was in my mind when we were writing the responses around how do you approach that? Because that's quite a hard, I think that's quite hard in general. Like, I found this quite hard to answer personally.
Yeah, and I think that also goes to us saying it's not about right or wrong, but it's about also acknowledging that we can deal with situations in different ways, and sometimes even, depending on the day or how you feel in that situation. I appreciate that, lots of responses, or quite a few speak to, not calling out, but calling in. So, and I
Yeah.
also, people say, I see, don't be afraid to voice your concern. And I think, well, it's legit to be afraid sometimes to voice your concern. I feel that just from the responses here, it creates a space where hopefully you can feel more confident to voice your concern and to feel that you will be heard.
Yeah. And it's also okay if you don't. I think a lot of people that we have some 37% of people who also said they'd call out the organizers. And I like Ina said, I think I mean, these are all like scenarios, and we obviously know that people will be in different spaces in the forum in different times of every single day, because it's going to be a space which is very big, probably quite overwhelming. in a good way, hopefully, but also in a way that like recognizes that we'll all be entering different spaces in at different points, and it's okay to also not engage. I think we need to give up ourselves permission for that as well.
And we're going to have rest spaces and spaces where we can go and just take a break from other humans, because many of us need that once in a while. But also I appreciate, how, like, point number 3, because we do come to those spaces to connect. And one of our principles in creating the forum and the different spaces is to have this multiplicity of formats and methodologies and types of spaces where you can connect with people in different ways. Because I guess, like, in the world, finding your people can sometimes take time, and it's easy to get lost for a moment. But I think it's really just worth remembering that there's going to be thousands of amazing people, and you will be able, if not in that activity, then in that one or in that space, that you can find people that you can have connections with. And maybe it will even be surprising, who those people are.
Yeah. And yeah, we have about 20 minutes left for this session, but we do want to leave a little bit of time in the end to talk for Jess to also take us through the next session. So please feel free to ask questions about this presentation. I see our team is also answering many of your questions related to registration, travel, visa. So thank you, team, for doing that. But also we welcome any questions or reflections that you have from your side. There are questions about participants from countries in conflict. There will be participants from different countries, definitely. We are also in the process of being in touch with participants coming from specific countries as well. But yes, there are many different um, activists coming from countries in very different stages also of crisis as well. And so I think that's also important for us to remember, actually, as we're going into the space, because it wouldn't only depend on sort of like what your mind space is, but there will definitely be folks coming from many different contexts. Um,
And I'm just looking at the questions that have been answered. So there was an important question about breastfeeding and childcare. So there's going to be a space for that at the forum, both for childcare and a nursing room. There's also a couple of questions where you have reference to frequently asked questions that you have on the forum website, where there's quite a bit of information.
There is also a question about how many of us at the forum, which was answered.
uh, Yeah, literally $1 million question. So, yeah, I'm not seeing the answer. Can you say what
Oh,
we
it's
answered? What
over
have we
three
answered?
over 3,000,
Okay,
which
yeah, I
is
think probably if you go to our website, you will see that we have planned for the last couple of years for a forum of 2,500 participants in person and many, many more online, including in a few people gathering in a few hubs outside of Thailand and connecting in a hybrid way. So we've been planning for 2,500, but then suddenly a lot of people wanted to come to the forum, which is amazing, and also prompted us to see what we can do to make that happen. So we are now looking at more than 3,000 people, because unfortunately we can't say just yes to everyone beyond our capacity, but we have been as creative as possible and committed to create as much space as we can.
I love that
No,
sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
probably we want to say the same thing, so you go.
No, about the comment on the session. No, mine wasn't question. Someone very nicely said, "Thank you for the scenarios. You are amazing. I can't wait to be at the forum." I like saying things like that. I like seeing. Oh,
Yeah, maybe that's a good time to thank everybody who worked to make this session happen, and also the team and the interpreters, and
Oh,
also, just the vulnerability of sharing our personal experiences that informed some of those scenarios. They didn't come out of nowhere.
What were you going to say, Ina? I don't think it was the same.
I wanted to respond to the question on whether there was a session on logistics. So no, there hasn't been. That's going to be the next session, and we hope that it will give you answers to all your questions about logistics and accessibility. And we have invested a lot on accessibility. We'll be sharing a bit more information about that, but we have been working with an amazing working group of folks with different types of expertise, with disability justice, but also other forms of accessibility, harm reduction, and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. And just to let you all know, please do visit the forum website. It is being updated by a really hardworking team in all the different languages almost every week, because we know that there are many questions that are coming up about accessibility, about how the space is going to be, and the FAQs are being updated. The website is forum.awid.org, just as a reminder. I think Jess has also dropped it in the chat in terms of getting in touch. And we know that there's lots of folks who are still in various processes of coming to the forum. And we can't wait to share all the exciting things we have in store. We're just making sure that they're in the best state possible before they reach you.
And it's been quite a few questions, both in the chat and I think in Q&A box, about the program and when will it be out. So just to say, the reason it takes a bit for the whole program to be out is because it's a fantastic program that is built from input and sessions submitted by feminist and gender justice movements from all over the world. But that also means that the final program awaits confirmation from everybody and takes a little bit of time to finalize. But it is, it's going to be amazing. So just trust us, but actually just trust yourselves, because you have been shaping this program, and it's been a participatory process with movement representatives from all regions and diverse movements to curate the program from over 1,700 sessions, applications that we received. Yeah.
So there's also a question about the code of conduct. There is a code of conduct. I think Jess dropped it in the chat, but we will make sure that it's sent as well to you in the email that follows up from this session. Oh, there we go. Thank you. But yeah, today's session, I guess, is an iteration of the code of conduct, because we know that code of conducts exist in many of the spaces that we're part of. But there's much more than that. So we would definitely need you to sign up. Well, you have if you've registered to the code of conduct. And that is very important because it does talk about situations where you may be facing any sort of issues related to discrimination based on any grounds. And so, but we didn't feel it was supremely important for us to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the code of conduct, because we know that life is a bit more messy than that.
Yeah, having that said, of course, we will not hesitate to actually uphold the code for the safety and comfort
Absolutely.
of everybody. It's not instead, it's just an addition. And I'm seeing, so yeah, there's basic information about, I see, about currency and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, you can wait for the logistics and there will be information shared. I'm also seeing the very good question, is it safe to use queer dating apps? I don't know if our logistics information includes that, but it definitely should. I think maybe that's also a good moment to say, though, and that is connected to intersectionality, of course, that the issue of safety is something that we hold as organizers with utmost responsibility and care. But also there is risk to everything in life. So there's also the personal considerations of the types of risks that we will not necessarily be able to know all the risks that you specifically are facing. So there's also your own judgment to exercise on those things as well.
Don't see any more questions. I wonder if we should head over to Jess for a reminder of the upcoming events.
Yeah, and the really lovely music as well.
Yes, yeah,
afterwards.
we're waiting for the music.
I'm not the music
I want
person.
I want to just say huge thanks to everybody for the really active participation and the very kind and warm and funny and thoughtful and smart and sometimes challenging comments and contributions in the chat. And yeah, and also to you, Gopika, for going over that together.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too.
All
Jess,
right.
over to you. And there is a question about the previous webinar and the recording, so maybe you can also
Yeah,
address
sure.
that.
So I'm going to share this space with you. Thanks, Ina and Gopika, for this wonderful session. I think you really nailed it. This, you know, this.
Very objective of you, Jess.
But no, but yeah, you are my bosses. But it was a very challenging setting. And to be honest, this is one of the beautiful things about AWID and like working here and being part of the team is some of these hard questions we have, and imagine what our staff meetings are like. So thanks for helping us better understand some of the nuances of feminist spaces. They aren't always easy, nor are they the utopia that we wish they were. But we also appreciate the brief update. Just being honest about some of the challenges, registration, because we know it's been a bit stressful for folks. So we just wanted to finish by saying, giving you a little bit of details about the next sessions and where you can find some more information. Michelle or someone, can you, for the last time, drop all of the links to the forum website, the FAQs, also around accessibility and the COVID protocol? A lot of people had questions. It was quite a time, an intensive process of coming to the decision around COVID protocol. So I think it would be really good to read those. Sometimes we just check boxes when we're registering, but there's a lot of thought that went into it. But we're really going to talk about logistics and accessibility quite a bit next week. Yeah, so also if Michelle, I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. If you could drop the final Menti in the chat, that'd be awesome. So Ina and Gopika, I want to just say while people are doing the Menti, is there like a final reflection you wanted to share to sum it up? I see your face.
This is like, election time. What's your one? Like one thing you want for the world? Nothing. I think just for me, it's I am really excited about being in the forum space. And for me, it's really an opportunity to come together and just experience something different. And I hope everyone who is attending sort of attends with that spirit of openness, empathy, and kindness. We can certainly use it in the current global, with what's going on in the world. And so, yeah, I guess that's also what we would love to take forward in the forum. Ina?
I'm thinking about all of us who, when we were kids, like we were not of those, people who travel abroad, or even whose parents are traveling abroad, and like we didn't think that we would be those people who can, go to the other part of the world in order to meet amazing activists. So so also just really not taking it for granted that we have those opportunities to connect across borders. Having that said, we should be having so many more of those opportunities in those spaces. But yeah, just not taking it for granted. And I think, especially after the pandemic, some of us probably sometimes still feel a bit socially awkward. Some of us were feeling that way before the pandemic as well. So just really looking forward to meeting all of you in, as we are with our awkward and beautiful and powerful presence.
Thank you, Gopika and Ina. And thanks again, everyone who joined us. We're so grateful for you being here and collectively sharing your wisdom and power. Spoiler alert, if you answer the Menti, if you have any more questions about any of this or logistics, you can ask them there and we'll get back to you. So next Wednesday, same time, different link, but unless you're in daylight savings, which, oof, good luck with that. But anyway, same time, we're going to be talking about logistics and accessibility, which is really interwoven. Check your calendar invites and click yes. And thanks, everyone. Let's have some music. We'll be here for a few more minutes to do the Menti.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
Jess.
evening, morning.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you to our amazing interpreters. We have so many languages today, including our ISL interpreters. English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Thai.
And
Amazing.
thanks to the membership and to the IT team.
Yay.
And the comms team.
I'm
Thanks,
getting very
everybody.
excited. I think we definitely need the music. Where is the music?
Yeah. Music. Oh no, I'll start singing again. Sorry, people, won't do that. Oh. Yeah, I heard there's going to be some fun karaoke at the forum, so maybe we should practice.
I wonder if we should let the cat out of the bag and say Jess is going to be the source of all fun at AWID. And so, Jess, now that you've shown everyone your face, yeah,
Get ready for the gala.
get ready for the gala. The person to go to for the gala is Jess.
There's the music. Yeah, no pressure, no pressure. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Fill out the Menti. It was nice seeing you all. Thanks.
Thanks, thanks, Joey. I know, I'm gonna go to my party now, everyone. I'm all ready, my outfit. Okay, Menti is up. So, yeah.
Yeah, and those who are celebrating, have an exceptionally fun weekend.
Oh, Kanye. Music.
Down for one more minute and then we'll close, but you can still do the Menti, even if you don't see our faces, so.